Assalamu alaikum, dear students. This is me, Atiq Ahmad. Today we are going to start the topic apoptosis and necrosis. We will divide this topic into two parts. In the first part, we will study the apoptosis, and in the second part, we will study the necrosis. So we are going to start the apoptosis. Apoptosis is also known as programmed cell death. It is a way to remove unwanted cells. Apoptosis is a programmed cell death because it is a normal process which takes place in the bodies of animals, including humans. And it is a way to remove the unwanted cells. Now, what are the unwanted cells? Those cells which are damaged, those cells which are passing through stress conditions, and those cells which are infectious, which already have some infection. They are unwanted cells because the body does not need those cells further. So they must be removed through the process of apoptosis. In an adult human, 50 to 70 billion cells die each day by apoptosis. Because it is a normal process, so on daily basis, various damaged cells, various old and worn out cells, various infection cells, and those cells which are passing through stress conditions, those cells are removed through the process of apoptosis. We will move towards the teaching points. Apoptosis can occur when a cell is damaged or undergoes through stress conditions. Whenever a cell is damaged or it is passing through stress conditions, or suppose there is a cell which is infectious, which already have some infection, some microorganisms is inside that cell. So these all cells must be removed from the body. Apoptosis removes the damaged cells or the infectious cells or the cells which are passing through stress conditions. For what purpose? Preventing it from getting further nutrients, because these cells are no longer useful for the body. They are not properly functional. So they must be removed from the body to prevent further use of nutrients by those cells, or to prevent the spread of infections. And whenever the cell is infectious, so that cells must be removed through the process of apoptosis to prevent the spread of infections. Because if that cell is not removed, so the microorganisms, the disease causing microorganisms, will divide and redivide inside that infectious cell, and then the cell will be burst, and those disease causing organisms will spread to other cells. So it is better to remove the infectious cell through the process of apoptosis. Apoptosis also gives advantage during development. Apoptosis is a useful process which is used during the developmental process of humans. So inside the humans, whenever development takes place, so the process of apoptosis is used to remove some unwanted cells. Now the process of apoptosis. During apoptosis, cell shrinks. In the first step, the cell will shrink and become rounded due to the breakdown of cytoskeleton by enzymes. As we have already studied that inside the cell there is a cytoskeleton, the cell skeleton. So whenever the process of apoptosis starts, so the cell will shrink, it will become rounded, and the internal cytoskeleton that is broken down by enzymes. So whenever the skeleton is broken down, so as a result, the cell will become shrunken and it will become rounded in shape. The chromatin material of the cell, which is killed through the process of apoptosis, its chromatin undergoes condensation and nuclear envelope breaks. The chromatin will start condensation and the nuclear envelope will be broken down. In this way, nucleus spread in the form of several discrete chromatin bodies. So whenever the chromosome condenses and the nuclear envelope breaks, so the nucleus will be broken and the nucleus will be divided into several small chromatin bodies. Cell membrane makes irregular buds known as blips. The chromatin bodies are produced as well as the various organelles are also broken down. So whenever these organelles and chromatin bodies are formed, so they will bud out from the cell through the cell membrane. So the cell membrane makes irregular buds known as blips. Blips break up from the cell and are now called apoptotic bodies. Those small blips, rounded masses which contain the various cell contents, the chromatin material, and as well as the broken organelle parts. So those blips will bud up from the cell, and now these budded bodies are known as apoptotic bodies. Diagrammatically, it is shown here, this is cell. The chromatin condensation occur, and the various organelles are broken down. Various organelles are broken down, so apoptotic bodies are produced, and various buds will move out of the cells. Now these are various buds. These are buds. Membrane blipping. This is known as membrane blipping. These are various buds, and ultimately these blobs will be engulfed by the neighbor cells. The cells which are surrounding this apoptotic cell, they will engulf these buds. So the cell membrane makes irregular buds known as blips. Blips break off from the cell and are now called apoptotic bodies, which are then engulfed, phagocytosed by neighbor cells and removed. During apoptosis, cellular content are not released. The cellular content are not released and inflammation does not occur. During apoptosis, the internal content of the cells are not released to the surrounding cells. Otherwise, then these content will damage the surrounding cells, and those will be affected. So the cellular contents are not released. Rather, the cellular contents are enclosed in buds, which are known as blips, and then these blips are engulfed by the neighbor cells. And inflammation does not occur. In the process of apoptosis, no inflammation is there. What is inflammation? Inflammation is basically a condition which is characterized by the symptoms of pain, swelling, redness, and hotness. These are the four characteristics of inflammation. So whenever there is some infection in the body, or suppose there is some part damaged in the body, so inflammation usually occur, and in that inflammation these four symptoms are there. That swelling occur, redness occurs, and that particular part becomes swollen and hot. These are the four symptoms. But in the case of apoptosis, there is no inflammation, there is no swelling, there is no hotness, there is no redness, there is no pain. So there is no inflammation. Now these are some examples of apoptosis. During metamorphosis, metamorphosis is basically the developmental process, and this usually occurs in the amphibians groups of animals. Amphibian is a group of animals. So in amphibians, the metamorphosis process takes place. So during the metamorphosis, the tail of tadpole disappears by apoptosis. Another example is during human development, the web present between the fingers disappears by apoptosis. During the developmental process of humans inside the womb, inside the uterus of the mother, whenever the new offspring is produced, so there is web inside these fingers. So that web is removed through the process of apoptosis. In adult humans, the number of cells is kept relatively constant through the process of apoptosis and division. Now, there is another example. This is the number of cells is kept constant within the body through the process of division and apoptosis. Through the process of division, new cells are produced, and through the process of apoptosis, the damaged, worn out, old, and infectious cells are removed. So, in this way, a balance of cell is maintained within the body. So constant number of cell is maintained within the body. So this is all about today's lecture. In the next lecture, we will study the process of necrosis. See you next time. Take care. Allah Hafiz.